Welcome to Discover Indie Film. I'm your host, Jeff Howard, and I am very pleased to have filmmaker Vitória Vasconcellos with me. Hey, Vitória.
Hey, Jeff. How are you doing?
I am good. All right, we are on Zoom because I am in Los Angeles and Vitória is in Brazil. So you're what, like 5 hours ahead of me or something? Anyway,
I think so. It's like 4:40 here.
4. I think it's 4, yeah, because you said 1 off in New York. So we are on Zoom, so apologies if you don't dig the sound quality. But hey, this is how people can talk across borders. So we just had a wonderful, nice long conversation that is the podcast before this one, where you can learn all about Vitória's film, Pate Matos. It is just a brilliant film. I could not say better things about it. It won the Programmer's Prize at the Sherman Oaks Film Festival in 2021, and it is in the Discover Indie Film TV series. So, hey, you should watch your film. I'll say right now before we jump into the podcast, go to a smart TV and open up the Amazon Prime Video app and type in Discover Indie Film into search and buy season 7 and watch it. That's if you're in the US or UK or using a VPN to look like you're in the US or UK. And of course, you can watch it. And if you watch it, hey, go on the Amazon website afterwards and give it 5 stars, man. And a good review. I always forget to ask for reviews. But anyhow, this podcast, the previous one, you can learn all about Vitória and her film. This one, we're going to talk about other films because she's going to answer the Discover Indie Film 4 questions, which are 3 favorite movies, an underrated movie, an overrated movie, and a lesser known film that people should seek out. It's funny, I just said movie 3 times. Normally I always say film. I don't know why I said movie. Go figure. It's something subtle in my brain. But you want to hit those favorites?
All right. Okay. So for 3 films I love, I'm going to say 3 more recent films that you can probably maybe still catch in the theaters, or they should be hot off, like the streaming list of new films. One of them is called Murina. It's from a Croatian filmmaker, her first feature, really, really awesome. The other one is, I'm sure, really well-known, I hope well-known, Portrait of a Lady on Fire by Celine Sciamma, also a female filmmaker, truly a master of her craft. And then the other one is it's a movie by a filmmaker from my hometown, Recife. It's a big Brazilian movie from the recent years. It's called Bacurau. It made a lot of, it won an award in Cannes, and it made a lot of fancy lists. And it's spelled Bacurau. So if you type that word into Google, you'll most certainly find information on how to watch the movie. So these are 3 films that I love, and they're from the recent 2 or 3 years. So they're recent films. So hopefully you're gonna be able to watch them at home.
Fantastic. And Marina, is that Murina or?
That's MUR. It sounds like the name Marina, but it's Murina.
Murina. Yeah, I spelled it right. What do you know? By the way, I haven't seen any of those, and I've heard of Portrait of a Lady on Fire. So.
Oh, that's on Hulu for you people in the US, and I'm assuming Canada. It's on Hulu, Portrait of a Lady on Fire. And please do yourself a favor and watch that movie. That's like complete mastery of the filmmaking craft. It's incredible.
Excellent. Well, I wish I could comment and say, but those sound fantastic. So excellent. The next question is an underrated film.
An underrated film. I think, here's a film that really impressed me, and it's recent as well. It's The Fallout. It's by Megan Parker. It's her first feature. It's streaming in Brazil. It's streaming on HBO. I think it's also in the American HBO. I don't know, because these things change a lot. Like, it's not uncommon to find a movie Netflix in a country and then in Amazon Prime in a different country. But it's called The Fallout, and it's actually, oh my God, it actually stars Jenna Ortega from Wednesday. And Maddie Ziegler, the dancer. I'm not sure that's how her name is pronounced. But it's incredible. It really impressed me. And also I think that movies like that really lack in the American film industry, that movies that capture this kind of sensitivity, Yeah, so I think it's underrated just because I know that it played Sundance, I think. But I was really surprised that I hadn't heard anything about it. Like it wasn't in the conversations. Yeah. So just one that I'm saying, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to add another, I'll add. I saw the Fallout. The Fallout is a wonderful film. I saw it. That's the one. It's the Fallout after. I don't think it's a spoiler because it's the very first scene.
I know, but I try not to tell people that
Okay, I
part,
won't say. But your reaction tells me I did see it. It's about two women who meet under traumatic circumstances, young high school age women.
Students. Yeah.
And it's a brilliant goddamn film. In fact, that's a great pick for underrated because I don't know whichever streaming service promoted it. I don't know if it had a theatrical run but like that film should have gotten some Oscar consideration. Yeah. And I don't think it did.
Yeah. I mean, I was really impressed that it didn't even make it to like, as far as I know, it didn't make it to like the Independent Spirit Awards or anything. And it's an obvious contender for that. As far as I know, he didn't make it. I hope that I'm wrong and it did, but as far as I know, he didn't. And I think it's everything in that movie is really well done. And for you out there, it's a movie about two young people that struggle. It's about how hard it is to connect to someone else when you feel like you're broken.
Absolutely.
That's how I would be up without.
And it's wonderfully made, and it's highly recommend. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and if you don't, I think, what is it? There's a website, watchnow.com or something, if you want to find out where to see it, or Just Watch. I think it's Just Watch.
I don't know. You know more than I do, Jeff. I just Google it and write available on.
I only know that because I Googled a film yesterday and it popped up on justwatch.com. I'm like, oh yeah, justwatch.com is like the best streaming guide ever because you just like type in a movie name and it tells you where you can watch it and how much it is on each service if you got to rent it and stuff. So anyway,
all right, good to know.
The Fallout.
Yeah, definitely see the Fallout. Yeah. Especially if you're American, I think. Especially.
It affects us more because of our culture.
I mean, Brazil sadly is kind of going down a similar road. But I think that if you're American specifically, it may like touch you in a different way.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and when I say American culture, I'm saying gun culture. So anyway, so the next one's going to be fun. That's an overrated film.
Overrated film. Okay, I'll say it. I'm not a hater of superhero movies. Definitely not a hater of superhero movies. Like I first of all appreciate what they have done for film recently, getting people to the movies. I know that that's something that helps other movies, just by proxy. But I think that an overrated film is the Avengers Age of Ultron. Just because I was forced to watch that like 3 times, just, peer pressured. And I enjoy it. Like you said, I think you mentioned earlier about having guilty pleasures. And I wouldn't even say that superhero movies are guilty pleasures. I think that a movie can do a lot of different things. And one of these things it's entertain. So movies that have a high entertainment value and maybe a smaller, I don't know, like inner monologue, sort of like internal poetic value. I don't think that makes them like worse or anything. And I think that's kind of like a pointless discussion to be like, oh, this movie is better than this movie. I mean, there should be room for all movies. But I think that movie is overrated. I think that there's just a lot of things that are there for no actual reason except just, I don't know, to make the movie look better. So I think that's overrated. Yeah.
I think that's a good pick. I have a weird relationship with Marvel because I turned my back on it very early and then got pulled back in towards the end when it became clear that they did something special with like that long Thanos story. But I actually think that, Age of Ultron is the one where they realized they had to take these films away from Joss Whedon. Right?
Yeah. I mean,
like he just didn't really have a good vibe for these stories. And so they pulled him out of the Marvel universe and handed it over to those brothers. And then they did something wonderful because it kind of got better, I think, after Ultron.
Yeah, and like I really liked the newest Spider-Man movie, for instance, just to prove that I'm not a Marvel hater. I really enjoyed it, and it was such a great community experience as well. Like I went to watch it with a couple of friends, and you could tell that everybody who was watching it also had some like kind of relationship to the movie, kind of like I had. I mean, I remember watching all of the other superhero movies when I was a child, you know, all the other Spider-Man movies in special because my cousins really liked it. So we saw all the Tobey Maguire ones and then the Andrew Garfield ones. So you're kind of familiar with these characters, and going to the movies with people that have, it's kind of watching Harry Potter, you know, like they just screened the second Harry Potter at a local movie theater to celebrate 20 years of the release. And it's so fun. Like, it's so cool to watch it with people that lived through the same sort of like anxiety waiting for the next movie to come out. So there's such merit in kind of this potential of films to bring people together. I think it's a different way of enjoying films that there's nothing wrong with. And so how many people were drawn to, you know, make masterpieces because they first fell in love with film through films that some people wouldn't consider, like, I don't know, real filmmaking or anything. So yeah, I'm not a huge Marvel person, but I certainly admire the potential of community building that their movies bring.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, we already called ourselves film snobs in the previous podcast. But yeah, film snobs can still appreciate, they call it a popcorn movie, which I think is dismissive. But heck, that Spider-Man movie.
And dismissive of popcorns. Popcorn is awesome.
It is. And I might have gotten not dragged, but I might have gone to the theater with a 14-year-old daughter who basically the biggest reason to see that Spider-Man movie was because she would shift between Tom Holland or Andrew Garfield or Tobey Maguire, who was cutest. And she like, you know, she like has a crush on all three, like a celebrity crush on all three. And she kept going, you know, I think Garfield's the cutest. And I'm like, well, and then we watched all the Spider-Man movies and then we went to see that one. And I got to say, whoever wrote that, and maybe I should know it, I should look that up, but man, talk about a brilliant screenplay that brought together different universes where they'd done sometimes unforgivable things with the story. And then they like excuse it by like having the Spider-Men discuss things like, oh, wait, it comes out of your skin instead you didn't build a web blaster like in the comic book. And like, it was just like, I thought it was just wonderful and fun.
Yeah, and now especially that we're seeing more like diversity in these movies, like Black Panther and then Eternals. And I think there is like a Latin American superhero that's now being developed. I don't know. You never know with these things if there are rumors or not. But the more diversity that they bring into these things, the better it will be for audiences. So I'm excited to see that they're trying at least to like go outside this bubble, you know.
Yeah, for sure. I could talk about that for a minute, but I won't bother. I'll let it go. But yes, I support you completely. All the questions? Well, I'll tell you when we stop recording. So last question is a lesser known film for people to seek out.
Oh, okay. I have so many answers to that one.
Feel free to name more than one if you want.
Okay, I'll say a couple of American films actually that came to mind. One is called Shiva Baby. It's an independent film. It came straight out of this short film, actually, that has the same title. And it's by Emma Seligman, maybe. Oh, my God, I'm butchering everyone's names, but at least I know the names of the films. But she is a first-time filmmaker, graduated from NYU. And I know this because I watched her short film like a while back, and she just made her first feature, and it's just a great example of how incredible a first feature can be. It's brilliant, it's great. So I definitely recommend Shiva Baby. I don't know where you can see it though, but I'm sure it's somewhere. The other one is Cooper Rife, filmmaker, an American filmmaker who's also kind of younger. He has two movies out that I know of. One is this really, really indie film called Shithouse. And the other one is a significantly larger film with Dakota Johnson called Cha Cha Real Smooth that's on Apple Plus. So I'd recommend it. I think his films are full of heart. It's something that my filmmaking lacks a lot. So it's good to, it's like this heartwarming film that makes you believe in humanity. It's really nice. And also very simple, like simple narratives, like nothing too crazy. So I would say this, and then I'll say one more. And this one is a Brazilian film. And because I couldn't just not add more Brazilian films into this. This one is a Brazilian film. It's actually out of the Brazilian films, it's not a lesser known one. People in Brazil will know about it because it was the Brazilian Oscar pick for 2019, I believe. It also won a prize in Cannes that year. The Uncertain Regard prize, which I don't know if there's like a title in English for that, but it's just like a certain look in French. And it's called The Invisible Life. And yeah, it's incredible. It's by a filmmaker from the northeast of Brazil that has made like incredibly transformative films. And I think it's lesser known for people outside of Brazil. So that's why I'm adding it to the list, because I'm assuming most people that are going to be listening to us are going to be in North America. So yes, look these films up. They're great. And I think you're going to have a great time after watching them.
I got to say, I brought them up so I knew I was spelling them right, but boy, Shiva Baby and Cha Cha Real Smooth, I got to watch those quickly, man. Those they look really good.
No, they're great.
And I'm sure Shithouse. I mean, how could I not love a movie called Shithouse? I love cursing.
Yeah, and I mean, the movie is really, I think it really dialogues with so many of the films we see at Sherman Oaks, like films sometimes made with no budget. But the session that Pathe Matos was screened on last year, we had a bunch of movies. I think there was only one movie that actually had money. Every other movie was kind of made out of passion and resilience. And so was Shithouse. Like, it's a first feature that looks like a first feature. And I don't say that in like a sort of like a bad judgmental way. I say this in a good way. It uses that as an advantage, you know. It tells a story that is kind of simple, but because it's about human relationships and about growing up and how hard it is to be alone for the first time in college. I think that the look of it, like the first feature look, really helps in understanding that this is like an early experience, and it's not a fancy $1 million look experience, if that makes sense. Anyways, that's how I interpreted it. And I think I watched that one illegally, I must say. So I don't know where to find an actual. It wasn't streaming anywhere. That's why I use streaming services. Okay, I hardly ever pirate. So
I'm with you. I every time someone in my household says, "Will you just torrent this movie?" I'm like, "No. If it's available, we'll pay whatever $4.99, $7.99 to rent it. I will torrent if it's an old film that I really want to watch, and you can't get it anywhere."
Yeah, and even to defend myself further, in Brazil, you do get like movies are not as available as in the US. Like oftentimes something's available in the US, but not in South America. So I figured, you know, if it was me, if it was my movie, I'd rather people, you know, watch it. So I try to justify my wrongdoings by saying that.
It is funny. And that's a legacy of the theatrical financial model, right? That every territory had to have its own box office and its own deal and blah, blah, blah. And so they block films. Like, you would think that in the era of the internet, no borders, just put a film and it plays everywhere. But no, like you said, even territory stuff shifts from Netflix to HBO to Prime to Hulu.
Yes, it's so weird.
It is a weird world we're in. And yeah, actually, because I was curious, I peeked at last year's schedule. Yeah, in your film, actually, I think all 4 films in your block last year were low budget, were like, you know, totally independently made. Yeah. Just, I think that horror movie, The Pay, looks so fancy. They put a little bit of extra effort into their stuff. But yeah, it was yours. And that cool movie, Lucky. I don't know if you remember Lucky, where
I think I do. Like, yeah,
where they just the guy like walks up to like a food cart in the middle of the desert, and then all of a sudden he's in a that one played really well with yours, right, boy?
Yeah, I mean the especially the editing, really dialogue there. But yeah, so I'm a fan of, and Shiva Baby in a similar way is the first feature, so you can tell that it's all shot in mostly one location. Lots of a large ensemble. But it kind of feels like a play of some sorts. So all of these, I think a lot of the movies that I mentioned today are from first-time directors, which makes lots of sense because I'm always looking, if I'm in a festival and I see that it's a first-time director film, I will do everything that I can to watch those because that's the position I'm in, right? And a lot of times when it's your first film, most of the time you don't really have resources. So I'm really curious to see how people use that to their advantage. And Shiva Baby and Shithouse are great examples of how to use your lack of resources creatively and actually make that kind of like a powerful thing in your movie, because you're not going to watch these movies and think that they are less than other movies because they has less money. No, that is so connected to the story and the narrative that you're just impressed that they were able to pull anything off, and especially something of, such great technical quality and artistic, I think what will be like a legacy,
I mean, I'm with you 1,000%. And I'll add that we'll get indie features, whether they're first time or not at the festival. And sometimes the budget, and as long as they creatively approach the budget limitations and overcome them with their hearts and minds. I've said to people many times at Q&As, I'll be honest, if you had $10 million, I would have wanted you to make the exact same film. Like, the film is perfect as it is, and you don't need to, if you had more money, you just should have put it in your pocket and made this film, because this film didn't need more money to be better. This film is great, and you overcame the budgetary problems, with creativity.
I think that's the importance overall of indie filmmaking, especially when you get to the point where you get money to make your projects overall. I think having been an indie filmmaker helps you understand the power and importance of money and how important it is to pay your friends and to have like a safe set, and what are things that are like splurging, like how can you use this money effectively and all and honor the story, not just like spend money because I think it really helps you see things differently and be resourceful, because so many great creative decisions come from not having things and being resourceful. I don't want to romanticize the fact that people don't invest in movies enough, but I think that it really helps you kind of be sharp-minded, and when you do have money, you make better use of it than if you hadn't.
For sure. I mean, it's Lord knows it's been a problem from the beginning, right? Way before film, there were patrons of the arts, and artists had to please churches and oligarchs and all kinds of things. It's always been tough. It's always been tough. All right, well, I think I'll get us out of here. So if you go to the show notes of this, you can get a link to Vitoria's website and social media. I'll make sure I put those on there. You should definitely watch her film, Pathé Mathos. So go to Amazon Prime Video, search for Discover Indie Film, and enjoy season 7. Her film is in episode 2, but I do recommend getting the whole season because, man, there's some it's crazy good stuff. Not just crazy stuff, crazy good stuff. And we actually close with some really impactful social consciousness documentaries too. So a little bit of everything. And all right, so like I said, go to Prime Video and watch that. Go to discoverindiefilm.com if you want to learn about the podcast or the TV series born out of it. It's at DIF Wins on social media. And we mentioned that Vitoria's film showed at Sherman Oaks Film Festival with a bunch of other great indies, although we had 70 great indies at that festival. Because I think we ran 8 days last year because there was such a backlog after COVID stopped that, man, we had a lot of films. I was glad we could rent the theater that long. So anyhow, go to ShermanOaksFF.com or at ShermanOaksFF on social media to learn about that film festival that's every November. It has a sister festival every June called Film Invasion Los Angeles. Just go to filminvasionla.com and Film Invasion at Film Invasion LA on social media. And I think that's my ramble. I'll add, just go to watchhitv.com WATCHHITV.com. 2 H's in a row there. And you'll see something kind of cool. Something cool people should check out. Vitória, thank you so much.
Jeff, thank you. This was so fun.
It's fun. And you know what? Thank you. It's a pleasure to know you, and I might even brag to friends in Los Angeles that I knew someone who was in Brazil during the election who was working, doing the hard work. And your coolness rubbed off on me. I'm holding my fingers together, like almost touching, like I got that much cooler just because I knew someone, a young person in Brazil, fighting for justice.
Well, I'm glad I could contribute.
Contribute to the coolness of a middle-aged American. Thank you.
You're welcome. I do what I can for the middle-aged American.
All right. Well, I'm thanking you, and I'm thanking everyone for listening, and have a wonderful everything.